Tonight, you'll probably eat something that comes in a package, a label, a list of ingredients you can't pronounce. You won't think twice about it. But for almost the entire history of your species, food didn't come from a shelf. It came from the ground, the tree, the carcass, the marrow. And the real answer to what your ancestors ate is far stranger than meat and berries. You've heard the story before. Cavemen hunting mammoths, grunting over fire, chewing on bones. It's a nice picture. It's mostly wrong. The truth is messier. It's smellier. It's more interesting. For over 2 million years, before a single seed was ever planted on purpose, your ancestors were eating a diet that shaped the very brain you're using right now to read this sentence. Not a diet of steak and salad. A diet that changed depending on the season, the region, the drought, the luck of finding a beehive or a dead antelope. Survival was not a menu. It was an improvisation. So what did they actually eat? Start with the obvious guess: meat. Early humans did eat meat, but not the way you imagine. Anthropologist Jessica Thompson, who studies ancient butchery marks on animal bones, has found something surprising in the fossil record. Many of the earliest cut marks on bones aren't from hunting large animals at all. They're from scavenging. Your ancestors were often not the lions of the savannah. They were the opportunists. They waited, they watched, they took what the real predators left behind. That means the marrow, the brain, the organs, the parts you wouldn't put on a modern dinner plate. Why would anyone eat that? Because it was smart. Bone marrow is dense in fat. Fat means calories. Calories mean survival. A cracked open leg bone could hold more usable energy than the meat around it. Your ancestors weren't picky. They were efficient. And efficiency mattered more than almost anything else, because the brain sitting in your skull right now is extraordinarily expensive to run. Here's the part most people never learn in school. Your brain, at rest, burns roughly 20% of your body's total energy. Not because you're thinking hard, just because it exists. That number is almost unheard of in the animal kingdom. So how did a species with a limited food supply afford to grow such a costly organ? This is where anthropologist Richard Wrangham enters the story. His research proposes something that sounds almost too simple to be true. Cooking changed everything. Raw food takes enormous energy to digest. Chewing alone can burn calories and time. Cooking breaks down fibers and proteins before they ever reach your stomach. It essentially pre-digests food outside the body. Wrangham's work suggests that controlled use of fire didn't just make food taste better. It freed up energy that would have gone into digestion and redirected it toward brain growth. Feel that for a second? The device you're using to read this sentence may exist, in part, because someone learned to keep a fire burning long enough to roast a root. But meat and fire are only half the story. The other half is smaller, quieter, easy to overlook. Plants. For decades, the popular image of prehistoric eating skipped right past this part. Hunting looked dramatic. Gathering looked boring. But biological anthropologist Catherine Milton, who spent years studying the diets of wild primates, found something that reshaped how researchers think about early human nutrition. Plant material wasn't a side dish. In many environments, it was the main source of calories, especially for women and children who couldn't always join a hunt that might return with nothing. Roots, tubers, nuts, seeds, wild fruit when it was in season, which was rarely as often as you'd hope. Milton's research on primate feeding behavior suggested that flexibility, not specialization, was the real survival skill. Eat what's available, adjust constantly, never rely on one food source for too long, because any one source could disappear without warning. This flexibility left a trace you can still find today, if you know where to look. Paleobotanist Amanda Henry has spent years examining ancient dental plaque, the hardened tartar preserved on fossilized teeth for tens of thousands of years. Inside that plaque, she has identified microscopic starch granules. Starch from tubers, starch from grains, even starch that appears to have been cooked before it was eaten. Think about what that means. Long before farming existed, long before anyone planted a single row of wheat, early humans and even some Neanderthals were already processing starchy plants with heat. The idea of humans as purely stalking, spear-throwing meat hunters starts to fall apart the moment you look closely at their teeth. So which was it? Meat or plants? Neither answer alone tells the whole story. The honest answer is, it depended entirely on where you happened to be born and what season it happened to be. Near a coastline, your ancestor might have eaten shellfish cracked open with a rock. Fish caught by hand in shallow water. Near a savanna, more meat when a hunt succeeded, more roots and seeds when it didn't. Near a forest, insects, termites, grubs, food still eaten by billions of people today, but rarely mentioned in documentaries because they make audiences squirm. Nothing about this diet was clean. Nothing about it came in a labeled portion. There was no daily recommended intake. There was only the question that mattered every single day. Is there enough to survive until tomorrow? And this is where the story bends back toward you. Your body still carries the memory of that uncertainty. That's why you crave fat and sugar so intensely, even now, in a world where neither is scarce. A craving that once meant survival now sits inside a body surrounded by convenience stores and delivery apps. The wiring hasn't caught up to the environment. Your ancestors' brain evolved to seek out calorie-dense food because calories were never guaranteed. Yours evolved from theirs, carrying the exact same instinct, dropped into a world where the instinct no longer fits. That craving you feel late at night, standing in front of an open refrigerator for no clear reason, that's not weakness. That's 2 million years of scarcity, quietly whispering through a body that has never once been told the famine is over. Consider that the next time you order takeout without even feeling hungry. Somewhere underneath the impulse is a much older voice, one shaped by marrow and roots and fire, one that never learned there would ever be enough. So tonight, when you eat something that comes in a package, remember this. The food is new. The hunger underneath it is ancient. And the real answer to what shaped that hunger is not a simple diet at all. It's the strangest, most adaptable survival strategy your species ever built.